Yeah, a little small trout. It's actually a legal sized trout, but that's the first trout of the morning. Beautiful morning, very uncharacteristic of Thanksgiving week. It's really warm. We've had 70s all the time, and so the trout have been a bit scattered. I think this warmer weather has them kind of the school's broken up because the bait's probably broken up a bit. But this spot along the Mississippi Gulf the MRGO, Mississippi River Gulf Outlet, has bait, and I'm fishing down in about 10 to 12 feet of water, actually up against the rocks and then bringing it back. So hopefully there are going to be some much bigger fish along here. Well, very next cast produces a small red. Interesting little guy. So this is episode 2 of my deep water fishing series. And just like in episode 1, I've got a water temperature problem. In episode 1, it was 63-degree water temperature, and today it's 66-degree water temperature. Yeah, and if you think I'm crazy, I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because 66-degree water temperature is no problem for speckled trout. They'll be very active in 66-degree water temperature. But where will they be active in? Probably in shallow water, probably in the 3-foot deep lakes, not in the deep water areas that I want to fish. So why don't I just go to the 3-foot deep marsh lakes and fish for the trout there? And yes, okay, they're probably setting up there, especially the schools. Although when you're shifting between lower water temperatures and higher water temperatures, I mean, we were recently down in the mid-50s in water temperature. So what that water temperature is doing is driving the trout into the deep water, then driving them back into the shallow water, and all that moving back and forth tends to break up the concentration of the trout, and then it's just harder to find concentrated amounts of trout anywhere. And of course, I'm not going for the schooling trout. That's not what I'm after. So the real reason that I'm fishing in deep water right now is because there are larger fish that have come in for the fall and winter, and they've been released from the need for higher salinity so that they can spawn. They've come into the inner marsh, and they're going to be most easily found in the deep water channels. So for instance, it could be Lake Pontchartrain, or it could be the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet Channel, which is what I've been fishing so far in this series. So I'm going to fish deep water. I don't really want to try to catch a bunch of 13-inchers. That's not my goal at all. I want to try to catch a few larger sized trout. So I'm going to fish deep water. But the way I'm going to deal with this high water temperature issue is by focusing on habitat along the rocks. So why would fish still be in deep water even though they could be in the shallow lakes? And that's going to be because there's going to be bait in some deeper areas of the MRGO, and so habitat is critical. So I'm going to look for an area, and I'm going to fish along the MRGO rocks in an area which is adjacent to a nice marsh area, a marsh region where bait fish, you could expect more bait fish to be moving in and out of the MRGO channel at that point. And that's going to be my target. And so, keep your eye out for how the habitat is visible to me in this area. Yeah, I was throwing that corky, and it just feels like it's not quite right. First cast back on the swim bait, the Matrix Shad Ultraviolet. We got it. Hey, check this out. For a good visual on the sensitivity of braided line, watch how the line vibrates when the fish hits the bait. Man, I just love the sensitivity of braided line. That's why I always fish with it. I do add a fluorocarbon leader on the end of it, so I have invisibility of the line at the bait. But man, I can't imagine not fishing with the non-stretch sensitivity of braided line. Much nicer trout. So there you go. First cast again in the same area. Came back to the same area. It's a little bowl here along the rocks, and something in here that's holding the fish.
If you were having any luck.
Yeah, they're kind of hanging out in this little bowl here. So, but they only hit swim bait on the bottom.
Yeah, good to see you, John. I didn't recognize you.
One thing about this bit of shoreline is that there is a little more bait here than I see in other places I've been this morning.
Yeah, down the road we found a point far off the shore. You catch it.
About 10 yards. Right there.
Okay.
Nice fish here. Oh yeah. That's what I like to catch. That size of fish right there. Whew, that's a good 17, 18 incher. Beautiful fish. Yeah, they like it slow, very slow. It's a cold fish too, so it's not surprising that they like it slow right now. I'm not drifting as much today. I've used my iPilot and stopped where I've hit fish. Typically don't, but the trout have been so scattered in my last couple trips that I'm not sure I may have to fish these spots that have a few trout to find any. Also, they won't take a jerk bait or twitch bait. They only seem to want this slow moving swim bait on the bottom, so when you're moving fast, you can't move as fast anyway when you're fishing like this. Fishing it slow on the bottom, so I can't just burn down a bunch of this rock shoreline and find trout. I gotta work, I just have to move a little bit slower. And the wind's picking up, so it's getting more difficult to move slow when you release the boat. This might be my first throwback. Yeah, that probably was less than 12 inches. Oh, look at that. Wow. I've got me a flounder. Whew. Look at that guy. He's gone. That's a nice flounder. I pulled off the rocks a little bit farther now, as it's getting, I think that the bites have been happening out a little bit farther than they were early in the morning. Pulled the widgeon grass off the bottom. It's about 10 feet down there. Surprised there's grass that deep, but this particular shoreline, section of the shoreline has been the most productive this morning. And it does have some grass on the bottom. Fat trout. Go. Yeah, I'm getting more action now farther out. I'm glad I moved the boat. Definitely more action. Still using this matrix shad ultraviolet on a 3/8 ounce jig head. A little bit surprising how, or the amount of stain in the MRGO here. It's not, MRGO is often very clean, and the clarity is not bad at all. It's still maybe 2 feet, but it's got a kind of gray stain to it. It definitely has some particulate in it, and but you know, this area, I guess it's being affected by Lake Bourne, and Lake Bourne, we did have a lot of north and west winds, so maybe has the lake a bit stirred up. But I think that's one of the reasons that the technique that's working the best for me is the slow swim bait. Basically, I'm just lifting the rod tip, letting it fall back down, lifting it up, letting it fall back down. I tried a variety of hard baits without any response. So that seems to be a sign. In fact, this matrix shad, I'm gonna need to replace this. It's getting eaten up. It's a lot of fish. So pulling up the widgeon grass off the bottom at like 10 feet depth. Quite a bit of this along the MRGO in this section. Here's another great visual of the line when the bait gets hit. And then in slow-mo, this is a nice fish. Be a little bit bigger one. Beautiful fish. That jig right in the corner of the mouth. Just pretty as can be. Fish. Very nicely. Deep in the mouth. So I just keep moving along the rocks here, picking new sections, run it, pick a new section. Kind of trying to stay out of the wind, because it's hard to fish slow in this wind. So finding some protected water is helpful. Well, the wind, as you can tell, has picked up significantly, and I think I'm going to go home and watch some football. So hey, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I'll see you on the water next time.